This is so embarrassing to admit, but when I was a believer, I completely bought into the covered lollipop discourse. Let me explain. See, there is this pervasive theme of superiority, this I am better than notion that runs throughout the faith like a thread.
I'm better. I am better.
Right? Because after all, this holy book right here has supposedly never been doctored, never altered. It's perfect. And this perfection is what sets the religion of peace apart from all the rest. This was fed to me all my life from birth. And when I reached maturity after starting my monthly cycle at the ripe age of 10, a new standard of perfection was introduced to me. I was told by my parents that I must safeguard myself and begin covering because I was mature and no longer a child. Because the arrival of my blood made me a woman. And not just any woman, I was a believing woman. One who is nothing like the uncovered heathens out there in the dunya. I was better, a jewel and a treasure that must be protected and kept pure, preserved until a man chooses me. I must be nothing like you uncovered candies because no one in their right mind would choose this lollipop over this one. Because everything about your worth as a woman in this faith hinges upon your purity or lack thereof. Whenever I would hear moderates saying that the hijab was a choice, I couldn't help but laugh. My family, friends, and community would mock these kinds of people for being misguided. Because to us, the ruling that women must cover was clearly stated in the Quran and Hadiths. See, I grew up Sunni, and there was no debate about covering. It was obligatory. And any rejection of what is mandatory is a sin, period. If I did not cover, then I was a sinner who would be punished in the hereafter for disobeying. So let me ask you this. How could I decide against covering with the knowledge of God's punishment looming over me? Could I really have chosen not to wear the veil if the alternative is damnation and torture? Is hijab a choice? Write your answer in the comments. I'll wait. Okay, I confess that was a trick question.
Gotcha, bitch.
Because I was never given a choice. I didn't choose to wear this. I was coerced by way of threats and the implication of punishments. This coercion gave me the illusion of choice. Someone left me this comment under a post about hijab over on Instagram, and when I read it, the voice that filled my head was my mother's. Because growing up, this is what she would say to me, almost verbatim, whenever I complained about how uncomfortable it was to be covered up all the time. And I didn't just get these kinds of warnings from her. They came from pretty much every adult in my life. In the Islamic school I attended, the teachers would police our attire. Once one of the students was so harshly scolded, she broke down in tears. Some of her hair was showing, and I remember a female teacher yelling at her so loud in the hallway during break that people came out of their classrooms to watch. The teacher kept asking her if she wanted to spend an eternity in hell, being hung upside down by her hair. She was referencing this hadith. Apparently it's fabricated. I didn't know it at the time, and I doubt that teacher did either. She's probably still using it to this day to torment little girls and scare them into submission. Off topic, but that's another absurd thing about this religion. You can't trust sources or even rely on your own mind. You have to run to an imam or scholar and let them do your thinking for you. Let them interpret texts and spoon feed it to you. Everything is a damn argument. Every year there's chaos and infighting about moon sightings. I grew up believing that there's 73 sects and only one will make it to paradise.
The famous hadith that is called the hadith of the divisions of the ummah, the hadith of the 73 sects, the 73 schisms of the ummah. And this hadith is a hadith that has been reported by over 50 of the companions of the Prophet.
It's a joke, like just one big circus where everyone thinks they're the ringmaster when really they're all just monkeys throwing shit at each other. Anyway, getting back to the subject now, I spent, or rather wasted, all of my teens and most of my 20s covering and gaslighting myself about how miserable I truly was. If a non-believer asked me if I was hot or uncomfortable wearing so many layers, in 98-degree heat, I would lie and pretend like I wasn't cooking like a rotisserie chicken. I would act like I wasn't looking forward to the moment when I could finally get home and snatch everything off. I'd say anything to avoid admitting that I was burdened and oppressed. The older I got, the more I despised covering. I got so sick of other Muslim women constantly judging the way I wrap my scarf. Securing it is a pain in the ass, by the way. You need all these pins to keep it from slipping off, and sometimes they would dig into my neck so badly. I would use cotton to alleviate the discomfort. When getting all my hair to fit under it was so annoying too. The constant manipulation of my curls to get them flat under the scarf led to hair loss and bald spots, all of which are now resolved since I no longer cover. It was just such a miserable existence. I could go on and on about how much I hated it, but I'll spare you. However, I do want to add that my irritation would peak whenever I visited the beach or water park with my family and had to watch all the men I was related to enjoying themselves, freely splashing around in shorts. Meanwhile, I'm completely bogged down in sopping layers of black, smiling through my discontent. And during my time covering, I experienced nothing but judgment and would in turn judge others. If I saw a girl dressed like this, then I viewed her as a sinner, since you can clearly see her shape and curves. And that meant she was as good as being naked in spite of her clothing. This is how toxic my thought process was. I had so much internalized misogyny. I'm still ridding myself of it to this day. That's why it's such a slap in the face to see Western feminists embracing the hijab and calling it empowering. I never felt empowered. I felt obligated. I felt like a covered lollipop that was better than the uncovered ones. And if it's so empowering, then why are women literally being taken off the face of the earth for supposedly wearing it improperly? There's nothing empowering about wearing a scarf due to the pressures of faith-based coercion and indoctrination. The most empowering experience I've ever had with a hijab was when I took it off and felt the wind in my hair. For me, wearing it was never a choice. But during my time as a devout believer and covered lollipop, I would have told anyone who asked me that it was my choice and that I was doing it because I wanted to please my Lord. The irony of wearing it was that it never afforded me the so-called protection everyone claims it does. I still was harassed and catcalled because I'm pretty. And newsflash, a pretty woman will be pretty no matter what she has on, and men will be men. No amount of covering up will stop them from being attracted to you. I don't have much more to say on the subject other than it makes my blood boil thinking about how much of my life was stolen by these beliefs, about how much time I wasted adhering to this doctrine. Anyway, a few of you disgruntled believers have left comments telling me that this channel is full of hate. So I wanted to take a moment to live up to those accusations. I recommend that you play Ayatul Kursi or something to rid yourself of all that jinn energy I just gave you. Let me stop. But seriously, this version of me that you get in these videos is only like 10% of my personality. It could really be so much worse, considering that this is the level of rage I'm holding in whenever I sit down to make new content.
Right, that was it. I am, however, gonna fix.
And you know, why should someone being full of hate bother some of you peaceful believers so much anyway? I mean, come on. The male deity you worship is overflowing with wrath. Why is it okay for Allah to fill his book with insults, but the second I hurl one, it's a problem? Why does he get to have all the fun? No fair. My therapist will hear about this.
Oh, my father will hear about this.
Well, you know by now that I like to keep it short, so that's about it for today. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Until next time.
Wear it until you love it!
And die in it.